So imagine dying alone in a hospital, thinking your life never really mattered, and then waking up in a completely different world. That's exactly what happens to Konoe, and what starts as a second chance quickly turns into something much more complicated. Konoe's story begins in a hospital room back on Earth. Doctors have already accepted that there's nothing more they can do, and they haven't even managed to contact his family. As the heart monitor lets out its final tone, Konoe quietly thinks that someone like him should never have been born. But instead of disappearing, he opens his eyes somewhere completely unfamiliar. He's standing inside a massive hall, alongside a group of equally confused strangers. Everything feels real, and even pinching himself confirms it. Just 3 months after being diagnosed with a fatal illness, he's somehow alive again. Before anyone can figure out what's happening, a man dressed in long robes welcomes them and immediately explains the situation. They've all been summoned from Earth into another world. Humanity here is locked in a constant battle against enormous dungeons created by evil gods, and the people of this world desperately want Earth technology to help them survive. Things like cars, trains, and airplanes could completely change how they fight this endless war. In other words, they've all been isekai'd. About a month passes, and Konoe is already attending classes to learn about this new world. When test papers are handed back, he scores near the top of the class, earning praise from his instructor for both his grades and perfect attendance. Even so, not everyone seems motivated. Several students quietly wonder why they're studying so hard when they'll eventually leave school anyway. Others are much more interested in the blessings they'll receive from the gods, and whether those powers will actually keep them alive. To answer that, the instructor projects a massive map of the world. Just one nation here is roughly the size of Eurasia from Earth, while the planet itself is several times larger, and beneath all of it lie imaginably huge dungeons filled with monsters. Humanity's goal is to destroy every one of them, but even the explored sections are larger than entire planets. Teleportation magic exists, but only a handful of people can use it effectively, making travel a nightmare. The situation, according to the instructor, is already close to hopeless. One student naturally asks why the gods don't simply solve the problem themselves. That question makes the instructor slam both hands onto the desk. This is exactly why they summoned people from Earth. Humanity here doesn't need random inventions. They need the ability to mass-produce transportation and industrial technology that can actually cover these impossible distances. The classroom immediately goes quiet. Then someone points out the obvious problem. None of them actually know how to build cars, let alone airplanes. And just like that, the instructor's passionate speech completely falls apart. Unfortunately, the summoning magic can't choose specialists. It simply grabs random people from Earth, which means engineers are just as likely to appear as ordinary students with no useful technical knowledge whatsoever. Once class ends, everyone heads out together, chatting excitedly about lunch and exploring another world. Konoe stays behind. He quietly stares at his desk for a moment before letting out a small laugh that doesn't really sound happy. Eventually, he walks through the academy grounds by himself. Around him, students from different races casually talk and laugh together. Elves, humans, and other races all seem perfectly comfortable with one another, while Konoe simply watches from the sidelines. That's when one of the instructors notices him. She's friendly, immediately recognizes him, and compliments both his grades and his behavior in the dormitories. Konoe politely thanks her, but the conversation quickly shifts to something much more important. She asks whether he's chosen his blessing yet. Every person in this world possesses a blessing granted by the gods. Normally, it's decided by birth and family lineage, but people summoned from Earth receive a rare privilege. They get to choose. Konoe admits he still hasn't made a decision. The instructor smiles as if she was waiting for exactly that answer. Without hesitation, she recommends life magic.
At first, she explains it as powerful healing magic, capable of treating injuries and illnesses, making its users incredibly valuable. Konoe points out that ordinary magic can already heal smaller wounds, so what makes this blessing so special? The instructor happily keeps listing advantages. Life magic also excels at strengthening the body. For decades, champions of the world's biggest martial arts tournament have all been users of it. Success comes easier. Influential people notice you more quickly. It can even extend your lifespan. Then she casually adds one more benefit. Life magic users also stay young and attractive for a very long time. Konoe listens with a completely unconvinced expression. The sales pitch is starting to sound a little too perfect. He tries to end the conversation by saying he'll think about it later back at the dorm. The instructor refuses to give up. She follows after him, enthusiastically explaining that mastering life magic could earn him wealth, fame, and practically anything else he could want. Then she takes it even further. According to her, building a harem would be easy. She even mentions owning beautiful slaves. Konoe Kanoe suddenly stops walking. That single word catches him completely off guard. Instead of simply ignoring it, memories from his past quietly begin surfacing. He remembers lonely moments from childhood, standing by himself while everyone else left, and the painful feeling that nobody had ever truly needed him. For just a second, an uncomfortable thought crosses his mind. If someone was forced to stay by his side, maybe he wouldn't have to be alone anymore. He immediately shakes his head and hurriedly tries to deny what he was thinking, but the instructor only smiles teasing. She even points toward an elf girl laughing happily in the courtyard below. According to the instructor, once Kanoe becomes a full adept with life magic, even someone like her could belong to him if he wants it. Kanoe silently watches the cheerful group below. The sight leaves him frozen. The girl is surrounded by friends, smiling naturally, living a life completely different from the one he remembers. His thoughts begin racing. For the first time since arriving here, he imagines a future where he doesn't end up completely alone. Sensing his hesitation, the instructor reassures him that becoming an adept takes decades of training, but someone as hardworking as him has what it takes. Even if he's not very good at talking to people, even if making connections has always been difficult. The idea of finally belonging somewhere starting becoming harder to ignore, but only for a moment. Kanoe quickly forces himself back to reality. He tells himself there's no way life could actually be that convenient. If he couldn't build relationships before, why would that suddenly change now? He lowers his head and tells the instructor he's changed his mind. She looks genuinely surprised. Then she immediately tries another approach. As an adept, he'd also gain access to special medicines, including love potions. Kanoe instinctively rejects the idea. Making someone fall in love against their will feels completely wrong. Yet another quiet thought slips into his mind. If someone like him had something like that, would he finally become important to someone? After a long pause, he quietly gives his answer. He'll accept life magic. Soon afterwards, he arrives at the Life Magic Guild and Kanoe kneels before a radiant winged goddess inside its sanctuary. She asks him a single question. Will he walk the path of life? Kanoe calmly answers yes. The goddess smiles warmly before granting him the blessing. A glowing sphere of light appears in his hands, filling his body with the comfort and warmth unlike anything he's ever experienced. Even so, he can't ignore the direction his thoughts had taken earlier. The future he imagined doesn't exactly match the kindness of the blessing he's just received, and he silently apologizes to the goddess. Unfortunately, he barely have time to think.
Without warning, the ground erupts. Massive pillars of stone burst upward, tearing apart the area around him. Kanoe is thrown into the rubble, coughing violently as blood spills from his mouth. Standing nearby is the same instructor. Unlike him, she looks completely calm while casually resting a spear over her shoulder. She orders him to stand. Monsters, she says, won't patiently wait for him. Before he can recover, another attack comes flying toward him. Kanoe barely manages to avoid it. The gap between them is overwhelming. He crashes to the ground again, struggling just to breathe. The instructor finally explains the reality behind all the promises she'd made earlier. Nothing about becoming an adept is easy. The rewards are real, but surviving long enough to earn them is another matter entirely. If Kanoe wants to live, he'll have to master strengthening his body with life magic. If he can't, then he'll simply die. She casually adds that reviving him isn't a problem as long as she gets there immediately after he dies. Hearing that doesn't exactly make him feel better. The instructor continues without changing her expression. An adept exists to protect humanity no matter the cost. If an arm is lost, keep fighting with the other one. If both legs are gone, crawl. Even after death, never stop resisting. That's what it means to stand between innocent people and the monsters threatening them. She finally looks Kanoe directly, who's still struggling to get back on his feet. And then she asks him the question that matters most. Why did he come here? And why did he choose the path of becoming an adept? He tightens his grip around the spear until his knuckles turn white. He remembers exactly why he chose this path. He wanted enough status and money to buy slaves and use love potions. As long as he kept moving forward, this world offered a way to reach that goal. With that thought pushing him on, Kanoe lets out a shout and thrusts his spear with everything he has. Right or wrong doesn't matter to him anymore. This time, he refuses to give up on the life he wants. The instructor calmly steps aside, avoiding the attack without any effort. She gives a small approving smile. Your determination is good. Then her expression turns serious. But your control over magic is terrible. Konoe blinks in confusion. What? Before he can even understand what she means, a heavy blow sends him flying across the training ground. He crashes into the rocky floor. For a long moment, he simply stares at the sky. He's just an ordinary person with almost no talent. Standing among people aiming to become adepts feels impossible. 1 year passes. Late at night, Konoe quietly walks through the academy. The stars shine above him, but he barely notices them. He's finally accepted reality. The dream that pushed him this far no longer feels achievable. Tonight, he's decided he'll tell his instructor he's quitting. Honestly, lasting an entire year under that brutal training is already more than he ever expected. As he turns a corner, something catches his eye. Someone is peeking at him from behind a pillar. Konoe stops. A moment later, the figure quietly steps out. It's the goddess of light. He looks around in confusion before he points at himself. Me? She smiles and nods. Without saying a word, she turns around and walks away.
Konoe follows her down the hallway until she opens the door to a quiet dining room lit by the night sky. She sits at the table and gestures for him to take the seat across from her. After hesitating for a moment, he does. She calmly pours him a cup of tea and slides it across the table. Konoe accepts it carefully. He already knows why she remains silent. The goddess herself never speaks outside of granting blessings. In this world, a god's words carry absolute authority, so even casual conversation could unintentionally affect someone's life. He wraps both hands around the warm cup. Thank you. Taking a sip, he lets out a quiet breath. It's really good. The goddess simply smiles. She doesn't say anything, but somehow Konoe understands what she's asking. Training has been difficult, hasn't it? He lowers his eyes. Yeah. His shoulders begin to shake. I'm sorry. The words finally spill out. I've reached my limit. I just wasn't good enough. I know I could have done more, but I can't keep doing this. The goddess quietly watches him. Then a gentle voice echoes directly inside his mind. That's not true. I've been watching you. Konoe freezes. She tells him she's seen everything. The endless spear practice, the hours spent studying while everyone else enjoyed their free time. All the effort he thought nobody had ever noticed, she had seen it all. Then she gently tells him something he never expected to hear. If he chooses to stop, that's okay. But he shouldn't deny the effort he's already made. He should acknowledge it himself. He deserves at least that much. Konoe stares at her in silence. For perhaps the first time in his life, someone has recognized the work he put in. He quietly looks down at his teacup before giving a small nod. Okay. That night, standing beneath the stars, he makes one more promise to himself. He'll keep trying, just a little long. Another year passes, then another. Nothing becomes easier. No matter how hard he trains, his talent never suddenly appears. He keeps running, he keeps fighting. He coughs up blood, he collapses. More than once, he comes close to death before being brought back. Each time he feels ready to quit, the goddess encourages him again, so he gets back up. One by one, countless students abandon the academy. Even many of the students who enrolled after him, still, Konoe refuses to stop. Eventually, the day of the final examination arrives. Standing inside the arena, Konoe faces a towering demon with huge wings, curved horns, and a long tail. The battle immediately begins. Stone shatters beneath their attacks. The monster's claws narrowly miss him. Then his spear lands the decisive blow. The demon falls. As the dust settles, the instructor looks down at the battered young man lying on the ground. Congratulations, Konoe. He did it. After 25 years at the academy, he has finally become an adept. Bruised, exhausted, and barely able to stand, Konoe receives the white coat that symbolizes his new rank. The instructor smiles proudly. You really made it. Did well, Konoe-kun. Everyone else gave up. He carefully accepts the coat. Thank you very much. Once he puts it on, it fits him perfectly. From that day forward, Konoe officially becomes the 9,120th adept. The instructor then hands him another document. It's the standard payment chart for adepts. Guarding a city suffering from miasma for 30 days earns 1,000 gold coins. Serving as an escort for 30 days pays 2,000. Even treating a single patient with a terminal illness brings in half a gold coin. Since Konoe came from Earth, she explains that 1 gold coin is enough for an ordinary family in the capital to live on for an entire month. Looking at the numbers, Konoe can't hide his surprise. The amount of money an adept can earn is incredible. The instructor folds the paper and gives him one final piece of advice. He doesn't have to follow those prices exactly. He can charge less, he can charge more. more, or even treat people for free. In the end, she wants him to leave the academy, see the world himself, and decide what kind of adept he wants to become. Konoe quietly nods. Understood. He walks toward the exit and looks out across the courtyard one last time. Behind him, the instructor gives her farewell. He should live however he wishes, pursue whatever he desires, just never forget his one responsibility. As an adept, his duty is to fight the evil gods and the monsters serving them. Nothing else is required. With those words behind him, Konoe steps through the academy gates. The massive doors slowly open wide. The guards announce the departure of a newly certified adept. Taking a deep breath, Konoe steps into the outside world. He believes everything can finally begin. Once he earns enough money, he'll be able to pursue the future he spent decades working toward. Outside, an enormous city stretches as far as he can see. Towering buildings line the streets with distant mountains rising beyond them. For a brief moment, he simply takes in the view. Then he notices something unusual. A crowd has gathered below the staircase. Dozens of people are staring directly at him. Their faces are filled with desperation. Someone recognizes the white coat. It's an adept. A new adept. The voices quickly multiply. Please, help us. Our town is suffering. Please, save everyone. Adept-sama. Konoe freezes. He has no idea how to respond. Then he notices blood dripping onto the stone. A young elf girl is slowly crawling toward him. Her white clothes are stained red, and she struggles just to stay conscious. Blood runs from her mouth as she weakly looks up at him. Adept-sama? Konoe immediately kneels beside her. Her condition is obviously serious. He tries to help her up. Let's return to the academy first. I can treat you there. But she desperately grabs his sleeve before he can move. She frantically shakes her head. My body doesn't matter. Please, save my town. Behind her, the crowd repeats the same desperate plea. Their hometown is being destroyed by disease and monsters. As Konoe looks into the girl's eyes, he realizes she's asking for everyone else before herself. Something inside him silently begins to change.